Take a moment right now and sit with something that might feel uncomfortable at first. What if everything you have been reaching for, every dream you have held close, every goal you have been working toward, every upgraded version of yourself you have been trying to grow into, what if all of it is already yours? Not eventually, not once you have proven yourself, not after the circumstances shift. Already yours right now in this moment. Most people will never be able to accept that. And that is precisely why most people stay exactly where they are. This is not about wishing. This is not about positive thinking in the soft, casual way people throw that phrase around. This is about a principle that governs how reality actually works. You do not grow into the wealthy version of yourself by grinding harder, by pushing through exhaustion, by squeezing effort out of every hour and hoping life notices. You grow into that version by deciding right now that you already are that person. You start from the finish line. You live as though the result is already secured. Because here is what most people have backwards. The outer world does not lead, it follows. It is always, without exception, a reflection of what is happening inside you. Change the inside and the outside must eventually catch up. That is not philosophy. That is the operating principle of existence. If you keep walking through life with the inner posture of someone who is struggling, someone who is waiting for their moment, someone who is one step behind where they need to be, then the world around you will keep confirming that story. It has no choice. But the moment you genuinely, from the inside, occupy the identity of someone who is already abundant, already settled, already living in the reality they desire, the world begins to reorganize itself around that new truth. Now, you might be sitting there thinking that sounds beautiful, but how do I actually do it when my bank account is telling me something completely different? The answer is both simple and demanding. You stop letting your senses cast the deciding vote. You stop treating what you can currently see and touch and measure as the final word on what is real. You accept the reality of what you imagine more fully than you accept the reality of what is currently in front of you. You wrap yourself in the feeling of already having it. That feeling is the engine. That feeling is what shifts things at the root level. The moment you genuinely accept the inner identity of someone who is wealthy, not as a performance but as a real felt truth, even if your bank account has not moved yet, even if your surroundings look exactly the same as yesterday, something begins to change beneath the surface. Because imagination is not decoration. It is the thing that creates reality in the first place. Not effort alone, not strategy alone. The quality and direction of your imagination. And this means the version of yourself that you have been carrying around needs to be examined honestly. If you still see yourself as someone with limited options, someone fighting for every inch, someone for whom abundance always seems to be around the corner but never quite here, that self-concept is the actual barrier. Not the economy, not your background, not your circumstances. The story you carry about who you are is the thing standing between you and the life you want. And that story can be changed, but it requires that you let the old one go completely. Not hold on to it with one hand while reaching forward with the other. Let it go. The new version of you does not hustle from anxiety, does not prove his worth to anyone, does not scan every situation for evidence that things might work out. He already knows they will. He carries himself from a place of inner completeness, a settled and unshakable certainty that is not loud or aggressive, but simply present. It radiates without effort. It cannot be faked because it is not a mask. It is a state of being. So instead of asking yourself what you need to do next, start asking what you need to assume. If you were genuinely fully the person you want to become, would you be anxious right now? Would you be desperate? Would you spend today worried about whether the breakthrough is coming? No, you would be calm. You would be moving through your day with a quiet knowing, a groundedness that does not need external validation to stay intact. And that calmness itself, that inner stillness, is what begins drawing the right things toward you. The feeling is everything. Whatever state you are living in on the inside will eventually become your life on the outside. This is not occasionally true. It is always true. So if you can learn to genuinely feel what wealth feels like, to sit in that feeling, to let it become familiar, to make it your default inner weather even while the circumstances around you have not yet caught up, then those circumstances must eventually shift. They must conform to the dominant inner reality. That is the law. And unlike human-made laws, this one has no exceptions. You cannot do this once or twice and expect it to work. You have to live there. You have to go to sleep each night in that state. Let it be the last thing you feel before you drift off. Let it be the texture of your dreams. Let it become so normal inside you that the outer world seems like the one that is out of step. Because the outer world is the shadow. What you are doing inside is the light. And the shadow cannot exist without the light that creates it. Stop asking how it will happen. The moment you start calculating the exact path from here to there, you have stepped back out of faith and into doubt. Your only job is to accept the result as already complete. Assume the feeling of it being done. Settle into that assumption and rest there. When you do, something remarkable begins to unfold. The right people start appearing in your life. Opportunities surface that you did not engineer. Ideas arrive that you did not force. The world around you literally begins rearranging itself, not because you pushed it, but because your inner state has changed and the outer world is simply catching up. You do not have to manufacture any of it. Your only task is to remain faithful to the assumption you have made. There is a version of you that is already living freely, already waking up without financial dread, already moving through life with ease and purpose and generosity. That version is not some separate person living in a parallel universe. It is you in a different state of consciousness, and you have the ability to enter that state right now, in this moment, simply by accepting it as your reality. When the fear comes up, and it will, when the inner voice says this is not working, you respond simply. It is already done. When doubt shows up with a list of reasons why you should stop believing, you answer it with one statement: I am the evidence. This is what real faith looks like. Not the kind you speak about, but the kind you practice in every thought, every inner conversation, every quiet moment when nobody is watching. This is the daily work that most people are not willing to do. And it is exactly why most people never get where they want to go. Here is something important to understand. You are not trying to attract money as though it were floating somewhere out in the world, waiting to land on the right person. You are becoming a person for whom money is a natural extension of who they are. The getting is a consequence of the being. You do not chase the result. You become the version of yourself for whom that result is inevitable. And from that becoming, everything else follows without force. Start speaking like that person speaks, not with arrogance, not performing for anyone else, but with the quiet confidence of someone who is settled in their own identity. Speak gratitude. Speak certainty. Let your words come from a place of fulfillment rather than from a place of reaching. Because your words carry the energy of the state you are in. When you speak from fullness, the world echoes fullness back to you. Change the way you carry yourself physically, the way you walk into a room, the way you sit, the way you breathe. In stillness, close your eyes and put yourself inside the life you desire. See the home, feel the space, see yourself giving freely, living fully, moving through your days without the weight of financial pressure. Do not put this scene in the future. Put yourself in it now. Make it sensory. Smell the air. Hear the sounds around you. Let the scene become real enough that your body responds to it. Because when your body responds to an imagined reality, that reality has begun to take root. When there is a delay between what you are holding inwardly and what has appeared outwardly, do not interpret that delay as failure. Delay is often the sign that something significant is being built beneath the surface, in the invisible space where all things begin before they become physical. The work is happening even when you cannot see it. Keep feeding the seed with your belief. Keep showing up in that inner state. In time, what has been growing underground will push through. The world is genuinely responsive to what you hold consistently in your imagination. It bends and shapes itself according to the picture you keep returning to. So what picture are you holding? Is it the picture of someone abundant, joyful, free, generous, settled? Or is it still the old picture? If it is the old one, the invitation right now is simple. Change it. You are not bound by what has been true up until now. You are not defined by your conditions or your history. You are defined by what you choose to accept as real in your imagination. You cannot live in two worlds at once. You cannot genuinely feel abundant inside while simultaneously treating lack as the deeper truth. You have to choose. Your senses will offer you one story. Your imagination offers you another. When you choose imagination, you step into a kind of creative authority that most people never access. You become the one who is shaping reality rather than simply reacting to it. Think of money not as a physical thing to be chased, but as an energy that mirrors your internal state. The freer and more open you feel within yourself, the more freely that energy moves toward you. The more you see yourself as someone already living in abundance, the more naturally life organizes itself around that reality. This is not a theory to file away. It is something to be experienced, and it begins right now. Breathe and settle. Let yourself actually feel what it would feel like to be financially free, not striving toward it, not pushing for it, but resting in it. The version of you who lives in that reality is calm. He is not scrambling. He is not white-knuckling his way toward a goal. He knows his world is a reflection of his inner state. He draws things toward him by the simple act of being who he is. He does not react with fear. He moves with clarity and creates with intention. If you woke up tomorrow with everything you have been working toward already fully realized, how would you move through your day? How would you speak? How would you make decisions? How would you show up in every conversation? Take that version of yourself and step into it now, not as a visualization you revisit once a week. As the person you are choosing to be starting today. That is how time collapses. That is how the invisible becomes visible. You stop moving toward the destination and you start living from it. This is not pretending. Pretending is hollow. This is something deeper. This is genuinely deciding in your consciousness who you are. And once that decision is made at a deep enough level, the form your life takes must follow. The outer world is always, without exception, a delayed mirror of the inner person. What you are genuinely and consistently conscious of being is what your life is in the process of becoming. So begin now to simply be the wealthy version of yourself. Not to try to become, but to be. Let that identity settle into you. Let it become so familiar that living any other way starts to feel strange. Sit with that identity long enough that it stops feeling like a stretch. Until the way you speak, the way you look at problems, the way you receive information, all begins to flow naturally from that place. Let others be skeptical. Let others do the math and conclude it is not possible. You stay faithful. You are not subject to what the statistics say. You are subject to your assumption. That is your reality. That is where your power actually lives. When you understand this at a real level, you stop looking outside yourself for permission or for proof. You realize you are not waiting for life to hand you something. You are the one doing the creating. You are not the clay in this story. You are the hands that shape it. You construct your reality through the state of being you occupy consistently. And when you rest in the certainty that it is already done, that certainty itself begins to pull the physical experience toward you. The world is ready for you to show up as the truest version of yourself. Not the version shaped by old limitations and early wounds. The version that knows what it is capable of. The version that does not shrink from its own potential. The version that dares to believe that all things are genuinely possible and that imagination is not the fantasy, it is the foundation. So assume the feeling of it being fulfilled. Live from the end. Rest in the knowing. And let the world do what it has always done. Let it catch up to the person you have decided to become. Walk into every room as though you belong there. Not with your ego leading, but with awareness. The awareness that you are not waiting for something to arrive. You are the arrival. Nothing is missing from you. Nothing has been withheld. Nothing is broken. When you carry that awareness with full sincerity, people respond to it. Circumstances respond to it. Life itself bends toward it because it has no other option. The dominant vibration of your inner world is what your outer world is always moving to match. The wealthiest version of you does not justify himself to anyone, does not perform for approval, does not mentally rehearse excuses for why things have not worked out yet. He simply lives. He moves through his days as someone for whom the question of whether abundance is coming has already been answered. When he considers a choice, he does not ask if he can afford it. He asks whether it aligns with his vision. He does not make decisions from fear. He makes them from clarity. He does not start with the bank balance. He starts with the feeling. That feeling of being settled, empowered, and certain becomes its own kind of currency because it is the internal state that produces external wealth in the first place. You do not manifest something once and move on. You live at a frequency, a consistent inner state. And from that frequency, you are constantly drawing experiences that match it. Once you genuinely attune to the frequency of abundance, the flow becomes natural. Ideas arrive without you forcing them. Connections appear at the right time. Openings emerge that you could not have predicted. To everyone around you, it looks like extraordinary luck. To you, it begins to feel normal. And that is exactly the point. Your new normal needs to be overflow, generosity, ease, joy, not as a reward you are straining toward, but as the baseline you are living from. The way to establish that new normal is to rehearse it emotionally before it appears physically. Sit in silence and genuinely feel what it is like to look at your accounts and see real abundance there. Feel what it is like to send money to people you love without calculating whether you can spare it. Feel what it is like to invest with confidence rather than anxiety. Not someday, right now inside yourself. That kind of internal rehearsal carries more creative power than most external strategies ever will. Because the consciousness that receives wealth must exist before the wealth itself arrives. You are not creating abundance from scratch. You are remembering a state that is actually natural to you. Wealth is your natural state. Scarcity is something learned. The layers of fear and guilt and unworthiness that sit between you and that natural state are not permanent features of who you are. They are old noise. Strip them away and what remains is clarity. What remains is the quiet knowing that you were never meant to be constantly grinding for survival. You were meant to flourish. So stop apologizing for wanting a beautiful life. Stop treating your desire for financial freedom as something vain or selfish. Those desires are not there to torment you. They are pointing you toward a version of yourself that already exists, waiting only for your full permission to step into the light. The moment you give that permission, genuinely and without conditions attached, the universe responds. Not eventually. It begins responding immediately, through small openings, unexpected conversations, ideas arriving at unexpected times, circumstances shifting in subtle but meaningful ways. None of it accidental, all of it the natural result of the inner shift you have made. But here is where most people get stuck. They want to see the proof before they commit to the belief. They say, show me the evidence and I will believe it. But that is not how this works. The belief comes first. The evidence follows. That is the entire point of what it means to assume something into reality. Assumption means you accept something as true before the outer world has confirmed it. And imagination, when held with real feeling and real consistency, is always ready to provide the confirmation that follows. You do not need better conditions. You do not need more favorable circumstances. You do not need anyone's approval or permission. You need one thing, a new understanding of who you are, a self-concept that says without hesitation, I am already it. That single shift is the gate. Walk through it and you enter a reality that was always there, waiting for you to stop standing outside it. There is no force out there withholding what you desire. The only thing that has ever stood between you and the life you want is the assumption you have been living from. Change the assumption and you change the life. The key is already in your hand. Stop looking for it somewhere else. Move forward now, not as someone who hopes to one day become wealthy, but as someone who knows, at a level that does not need argument, that they already are. Your consciousness is writing the blueprint. Your belief is pouring the foundation. Your consistent inner state is building the structure, and the physical world is simply the last thing to catch up. Do not waste energy arguing with the shadow. Turn inward, sit in the silence, feel the wish fulfilled, and live from that point forward, not as a temporary experiment, but as a permanent shift in who you are. Do not allow your imagination to rehearse limitation. Do not let yourself replay old failures as though they have any authority over what is possible now. Speak from the end. Feel from the end. Think from the end. This is not something you visit occasionally. It is somewhere you choose to live. You are not passing through the millionaire state on your way to somewhere else. You are making it your home. Decorate the inside of your mind with images of freedom and abundance. Walk through your own imagination as someone who belongs there. Rest in the feeling of fulfillment. Wake up inside of it. And from that consistent dwelling, the outer world will shift. Not because you begged it to, because it simply reflects what you have become inside. You are not lying to yourself when you do this. You are telling the truth in advance. Because the truth of your being is not determined by what your current circumstances show. It is determined by what you accept as real in the deepest part of your consciousness. And when you choose that with full commitment, reality as you know it becomes the most responsive thing imaginable. Let go of the need to grind your way there. The real work is inner. The real investment is in your own belief and awareness. And when that inner investment is made consistently, the outer returns come naturally. You will begin to notice it. Money arriving not through strain but through alignment. The right idea surfacing at exactly the right moment. A conversation that opens an unexpected door. Life starting to feel less like an obstacle course and more like something that is quietly working with you. Because it is. You have simply tuned yourself to the frequency where that becomes your experience. You are no longer broadcasting the signal of scarcity, you are broadcasting the signal of someone who has arrived. And everything around you begins to respond to that broadcast, as though the world itself is saying, "There you are. We have been waiting for you." You will smile when that happens, not because something lucky fell into your lap, but because you understand that you are the one who called it forward. You are the cause. You are the root of the whole thing. And in understanding that, fear loses its grip. Doubt loses its voice. And the version of you that has always existed beneath the noise of limitation steps forward and takes its rightful place. From that place, the impact you have on the world expands naturally. You are not just creating for yourself. You are becoming someone whose presence lifts others. True wealth is not just what you have. It is who you have become in the process of claiming it. And who you become, the settled, generous, aware, fully expressed version of yourself, naturally changes every room it walks into. You will not need to explain yourself. Your life will speak for itself. People will sense something different about you, a groundedness, a certainty that does not need to announce itself. And you will know exactly where it comes from. Not from luck, not from perfect timing, from a choice you made to stop waiting and start being. The state of abundance will become so natural to you that anything less will feel genuinely foreign. You will not be chasing. You will be receiving. You will not be forcing. You will be allowing. Everything that belongs to the wealthy, free, full version of you will begin moving toward you because you have stopped running away from it. The version of you that you have been reaching toward was never far away. He was always right here, waiting for you to stop doubting, stop analyzing, stop postponing, waiting for you to simply say yes and step fully into what you have always been capable of being. That yes is available to you right now. Keep returning to the feeling. Keep dwelling in the end. When doubt creeps in, do not wrestle with it. Soften your attention and come back to the scene you have built inside yourself, the one where you are already living the life you desire. Return to it gently and repeatedly. That is the practice. That is the spiritual discipline that most people underestimate, and it is the one that changes everything. As your inner world grows richer and more vivid, the outer world will follow in ways that exceed what you thought to plan for. Money will move more freely. Ideas will come with greater clarity. The right people will enter your life at the right time. Your confidence will become a genuine force that draws success toward you without effort or performance. Every day is another opportunity to deepen the assumption, to expand the vision, to inhabit more fully the wealthy and purposeful person you already are in spirit. As you continue that inner work, the line between what you imagined and what you are living begins to blur. The dream and the life become one thing. The millionaire version of you is no longer a concept you are working toward. He is the person looking back at you in the mirror every morning. That is the art of becoming, and you are the master of it. Your imagination is the instrument. Your assumption is the song. Play it with conviction. Play it without apology. Play it every single day, and let the world organize itself around the music you are making from the inside out. You are wealth. You are abundance. You are the living, breathing expression of your highest vision. Not tomorrow. Not when the conditions are right. Now, feel it deeply. Assume it completely. Act from it consistently. And watch as your life becomes the proof that this is true.